Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Welcome to a new episode of Single and Doing It All. This is your host, Muriel Falous. And today's episode is going to be very interesting because my guest, her expertise is in the same area as my expertise, moms and teenagers or parents and teenagers. So that's going to be very rich. But we now don't record the interviews live, as you can see, because I think it's more of a connection when we are present in the moment instead of being on Facebook with all the technology and the comments and everything. So that's enough about me and the podcast. Let me introduce you to my guest. And I just realized I didn't confirm how to pronounce her name. I hope I'm not gonna butcher it. Her name is Dr. Sam. Be encouraged. Mahlatini. Dr. Stem was born and raised in Zimbabwe, Africa, and has over 20 years experience as a mental health professional, parent and teens coach, employee assistance professional, psychotherapist, life and career coach with 23 years of experience. She has a private practice in Altamonte Springs, Florida. She's also a motivational speaker, radio and television personality, and listen to that, ladies and gentlemen, the author of 31 books on Amazon and her website. That in itself is an achievement. Her goal is to help bridge the gap between parents and teens by boosting their confidence so they can live stress-free lives. Welcome, Dr. Stem.
Thank you.
How did I do about the name?
You butchered it like everybody else.
I know.
Oh. And that's why I go by just Dr. Stem, which is S-T-E-M. The last name is Mahlatini, just like the drink martini, but you put Mahlatini.
Okay. So I did butcher it. Wow. So I'm very happy to have you here on the show because as I've read, you have a lot of experience and expertise, and you are with us in the trenches. Before we go into questions and giving tips to people, I would love to know your story. How did you start? How did you end up doing what you're doing today?
Yeah. So I went to school for my master's degree at Boston University in Massachusetts. And believe it or not, I was doing my master's in social work at the school. And of all the classes that I chose to take, the one with the teenagers, working with the teenagers, was the one that had the least, students enrolled in it. Oh. And I remember the doctor that was teaching us, she said, listen, this is probably the most exciting population that people fail to understand, but it's also the most challenging population. So people choose to look at the challenges rather than, the excitement of working with teenagers. Hence, it won't be an easy journey if you choose to go that route, but it will also be exciting as well as challenging. And just like everybody else, I said, just give me my 3 credits and then I want to graduate and leave. I don't want to see them. I don't want to deal with them because, who wants to do hard work? Yeah. And as fate will take it, God will make it. The universe has it. Guess what? My first job was actually working with teenagers in a program in Boston. And I just fell in love with their innocence and their challenges and just, it was just exciting to see myself because I was one of those teenagers that was just happy. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was a challenge to my parents. And I thought, now if I could make it And I was just this one kid that my parents were looking at and going, oh my God, what is she going to become? Because she doesn't listen and she doesn't do this. But I made it. Then guess what? If I can also believe that these kids can believe it,
Yeah.
then yeah, then I will have, you know, that exciting path, you know, that Dr. Wigley was talking about. And guess what? It has been a path for over 23 years where I have worked with parents who were just losing it and kids who just were like, you know what, I'm going to run away from home. I'm like, no, you're not going to run away from home because your mom wants to run away too. Your dad wants to run away from you. So don't do that.
Ah,
Yes, I'm very passionate about it.
that's a beautiful story. And that's true that when you connect with them, they're sweet and they need to have someone who listens to them. And sometimes as parents, we don't know how to listen because we're activated emotionally and it doesn't end well.
Yes.
So that's really a beautiful story. And so today, what you're doing is also working with parents and teenagers, mostly?
So today I do have a private practice here in the Orlando, Florida area. And what I do is I specialize in working with parents and teenagers, providing individual counseling, group counseling. I do some webinars, you know, online, and just primarily being the guide. But, you know, as you read in the bio, my goal is to make this as stress-free a time as possible.
Yes. And that's my goal too, because I specialize in single moms because I am one and I still have teenagers at home. So I'm still living it on a daily basis, which is a great thing because it really brings the challenges present to my mind and I see what tools work with myself and my clients. And the first question I would like to ask you is there in your practice, do you see, let's say, what do you see as the most common challenges between teenagers and parents, if there were 2 or 3?
I'm going to come out of the box because then what I wanted to do too is I don't want to be a regurgitation of what we talk about in counseling and everything or any other person. So, you know, one thing I take my pride in, I tell everybody that comes, I'm actually in my office right now. This is my office. I tell everybody that comes here, listen, I'm real and I'm going to tell you as it is, you know, so I'm going to tell you as it is. I think the most challenge that I see in this office when, you know, parents come in here with their teenagers is teenagers press that button that parents are not, they're not even expecting, you know, that button to be pressed. And these kids are also not expecting to be pressing the button, but sometimes they're very sleek about it because once they press it once, guess what? They're going to be pressing it again. Mm-hmm. So it's that an awareness of what it is that, you know, this incident is triggering in me, what my teenager is doing, what is it that, you know, he or she is triggering in me, so that we turn it back into ourselves and look at what is it that I'm struggling with, rather than I'm going to murder you because you're not respecting it.
And that's what I find too. I always say, don't bleed your own wounds on your kids, because anything that isn't healed in us will be triggered right and left, because life is beautiful in that way. It will bring in front of us what we need to heal on both sides. And that's what I find too, that it starts with us, because they are going through hormonal changes. So it's enough on their side. If we are not centered and really balanced as much as possible, because we're human beings, it creates a disaster.
You're right. So, you know, yeah. So to the audience that are listening to our podcast, my question is, what is it that you're going through in life today that you know that it's troubling you, it's you know, making you have sleepless nights? Because then when we really look at it, right, most parents will say having a teenager is really, like, you know, stressing me out. But yes, I know that. But what else is really stressing you out on the adult things that go on in an adult, you know, life? what are those things? Because then what's going to happen is when your teenager does teenage stuff, which, you know, they're going to lie, they're going to be disrespectful, they're going to roll their eyes, they're not going to make their bed. You know, I mean, if you have a daughter, yes, and they have their period, yes, you will find the pads, used pads underneath the bed in it. You know, all that will be there because they're teenagers. However, the way that you're going to handle it depends on what else is really bothering you or going on in your life.
Yes, that's so true. I know from a personal experience when my kids started changing, and I was living in the illusion that you could control someone, okay? Because when they're young, it's much easier.
Yes.
What was not my surprise to realize that that's a total illusion.
Yes.
Don't control anyone. And I had so many things going on in my life. I had challenges with my health. I have the business. I have a full-time job. I'm alone with 3. It was so much that I couldn't take it anymore. And that one drop that would be, I don't know, dishes in the sink or a stupid thing would make things overflow. I even went down, I was going down in depression, and I really had to stop and start taking care of myself, look inside to see where I was afraid, what was stressing me, what kind of scenarios, because we do that to ourselves. We have horrible scenarios in our head for the future for them as soon as they make a mistake. I really had to look at all that.
Right.
And, yes. And so on the side of the teenagers, do you get, because here in Nevada, they legalized marijuana, and that created a mess because the kids, they say everywhere that is harmless, it's harmless and it won't hurt you and it's natural and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And the kids listen to that, and of course they know they shouldn't do it because they are not 21, but they think it's okay. And I see a lot of them smoking and doing stuff. Is it something you run into in Florida? It's not legal there, right?
It's everywhere.
Okay.
It's everywhere around the world. But then here's the thing, Miriam. Are we going to fight a systemic battle that, you know, I mean, the whole world and the whole country and the lawmakers are saying, oh, it's okay, and they themselves are even smoking themselves? Is that a battle that really you can win? Or are we going to focus on guiding our teenagers rather than fight that one there? But, you know, we focus on guiding them, because then when we have the right principles and we have the right direction that we hope these kids to go into, most likely what happens is they will be sitting in my office as an attorney, as a judge, as a doctor, and say, nah, I smoked weed in my you know, younger years, but to be honest with you, my goal was to become a doctor, and I just became a doctor, and that's what I wanted to do, because then it becomes a minor thing rather than, you know, something that is big that now destroys the connection that a parent can have with their child. Also, you know, I mean, you know, distracts the child, because now all they are doing is trying to fight to say, Mom, it's okay because, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. And you're like, well, but there's everything wrong with it, Mom. I said, so that's the question. Do I want to fight a systemic battle, or do I want to guide my child into a future that they can choose to say, you know what, I don't want to do this here because it is getting in the way of what it is that I love to do with my life?
And so sometimes they understand, sometimes they don't, because they don't see further than the tip of their nose if they're younger. What I see also is that there is at this age, they want excitement, they want adventure, and that represents that. So if we somehow can find a way to provide those feelings with other things that are better, there is less of a tendency to go there. Or if they try once or twice, it's not going to become a regular thing. Is that what you're finding too, that when they're occupied, and have something that really excites them and that they enjoy, they have less of a tendency to go to that stuff, even if there is peer pressure.
So here's what, I'm glad that you asked that question, because here's another thing that happens, right? Some of these, teenagers that are using, the smoking or even drinking, they actually have an underlying mental health problem, either anxiety or depression or attention deficit disorder that has not been diagnosed and is not being treated. So what they do is that becomes their own self-treatment, self-medication.
Yeah.
They're using that. So sometimes, again, part of helping them deal with the reasons why they're using it is being able to allow them or guide them into offices like myself or coaches like myself, where we can really talk about what's really going on so that we can help them manage that depression, anxiety, and attention disorder in a proper way than self-medication, which is harmful to them.
Yes, because there is a lot of anxiety nowadays with kids. And I think if there was in our time, now it's multiplied because there is the social medias that are extremely impactful, both in good and in bad. And they can suffer without us even noticing sometimes.
Yeah. So then, you are a parent, right?
Yes.
What do you think happens when you address marijuana use and you're so worried about it, what they're going to do, and they got no staying there, do you think that actually exacerbates the anxiety or?
It does. It does, because they don't feel connected, they don't feel understood, and they have one more reason to go and smoke. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's easy as a parent to calm the fear, but it always comes back to the same thing for everything. I had an 18-year-old who decided to drive to California at night with her friends. What do you do with that? Do you get mad and say, no, she's 18, she can do whatever she wants, really? Do you say yes, but you make her feel bad for her decision? Or do you say, okay, go, but be careful, stop, drink coffee, and really appeal to her judgment, to her, everything you taught her to be good to herself and to protect herself. It's the same thing here. It's, do you go into your fear or do you go into your love? And it's always the same decision. And it's not always easy to not go directly into fear. You need training in your mind to react differently, right?
Yes. And just like the bird, mother bird, she gets to a point where she literally goes to the nest and pushes that kid. And I can only imagine, because then I think at that point the bird closes their eyes. If they're one that prays or goes into meditation or universe, they just pray that, what, let the powers to be and the spirit that can hold you and guide you, but you have to go. And they push the bird out and go. And that's, the challenge that every parent has, to get to that point where you lovingly allow the child to go, experience life, and let the universe, God, and the powers to be guide him or her and lead them into a life that they are supposed to have, because their life is probably nothing close to what any parent can even imagine.
Yes. And I have chills when you say that, because that's always something that I cultivate in myself, and I try to help people cultivate, is the trust in God, the universe, life, however you call it, to take care of them. Because you did everything you can, you're still here to guide and love. But ultimately, you are not the one protecting them. They are, and the universe is. So you might as well surrender and go with the flow. Otherwise, it creates tension and nothing good comes out of that. So you teach parents to see what's going on in their life and remove the stress factors so there are as little as possible. Where is there a starting point that you tell everybody to start with, or what would be the thing that you could tell the audience if they wanted to do that? What's the starting point?
So I love the fact that you talked about you are teaching parents to trust, because then I think, that's a great, place to start, where you can trust the process of parenting and also trust your own judgment as a parent, because I see many parents self-doubt themselves. They're also afraid that maybe, I'm not doing the best thing and I'm not guiding them the right way. So when you begin to pull yourself back and trust that you are going to do the best work as a parent that you can from what you know. And I applaud the parents that take that extra step to join the membership that you're creating now, the programs that, myself and other coaches have, because we always have something else that you can put in your toolbox in order to build your trust factor and be confident in yourself. So that self-love is probably the number one thing that I say to a parent. Start from loving yourself and trusting that you're doing the best that you can.
That's beautiful. Self-love is really the key, because first of all, you're going to be a better parent, and you're a model for them. They learn from what you do even more than what you say. So it's beautiful.
Before, and then, sorry. And then you know what? It's interesting that when you start with loving yourself, and then you also start trusting that little baby that you got from heaven, that came in innocently, but full of life and full of trust and full of, trusting you and trusting the earth and universe and God, that, I could just walk and I could just talk. And when a parent now, when they're teenagers, they're relying on you, even though they're independent. They're looking at you to say, remember how when they start walking and, if they fall and the parent goes, ah, then the child goes, ah, that means, oh my God, I was supposed to be scared. They start crying. But if they fall and the parent says, come on, sweetie, it's okay, and they are relaxed, guess what they do? Oh, okay, I can walk. As teenagers, they're still doing the same thing. When they start smoking weed and they start going astray, and mom and dad, or parent, grandma who's taking care of them, does not panic, does not freak out, and again comes in and says, honey, that probably is not the best thing that you want to do, without that panic again, they again get into that mode where they are being guided because they have no clue. They're still exploring, but at this point now, you are not one to guide them, like you were guiding them in their mind. They're thinking you're controlling them. That's the difference.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yes, that's very important to say, because they don't see the same way that we see it at all. That's why they rebel sometimes and they don't want to listen to us. But that's so true. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's something you need to work on and cultivate. It's a must. And first of all, when you learn in life to respond instead of react, it's going to serve you in all the areas. So
I talk about that a lot. Responding and reacting, you're right.
You have your own show on Facebook, or I don't know if you call it a show, but you have your own lives. I've watched a few. And so for people who would like to connect with you or inquire about what you're doing, where do they need to go?
You're right. I'm all over Facebook. So you put in DRSTEM as one word, Dr. STEM, and then be encouraged. That's my motto for parents, to be encouraged. So if you put Dr. STEM one word and then be encouraged, even on Google, it will bring you all my websites and Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'm all over. And people can also email me with any questions that they have. And my email is DRSTEM14@gmail.com. DrSTEM14@gmail.com.
And I'll put that in the description as well.
Okay.
Is there something before we part that you would like to leave the audience with? If there was one thing. Oh no, wait, I forgot my two questions, the questions I ask every guest about self-love. So because when I tell people you need to love yourself, they don't even know where to start. They don't even know what it means to them. So I love asking the guest to give her definition of self-love. What is self-love for you?
The ability to look in the mirror and see yourself and be able to stand there and say, I love you.
Aha. Yes, I love that. Mirror affirmations.
Many people can do, many people cannot do that. Many people, I have mirrors in my office and I always lift it up and I say, what do you see? And a lot of people, adults and young people, will say, I don't know, I don't see anything. And that's it.
Yes. And when I do that exercise with clients, some of them, they're like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. Others stop crying as they're doing it. Others laugh because it negates what they just said. And even me, I started doing that many years ago with Louise Hay.
Yep, that's it.
And at the beginning, it seems weird, but if you stay with it and continue doing that several times a day, every day,
yes,
at one point something shifts and you are actually loving yourself.
Yes.
That's
yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
And that answers my second question, because it is, what do you do in your life to love yourself? So that's one way that is very powerful.
Yes. And you know what? I thought your second question, because as we were preparing this, conversation, I remember Muriel saying to me, listen, I need you to talk a little bit about respect. So before we part, I'm going to talk just a little bit about respect, because I think the universe wanted us to make sure that
yes,
the teenagers that you're raising today are different from the way that you were raised, in the sense that when we were raised, respect was mostly like, you respect adults, you respect human beings and life in itself, you respect God. And those were the things that were instilled in us as values. The children that you're raising today are children that respect to them is do as I do and not as I say. This is the difference. Yeah. We were raised as do as I say and not as I do. They are the reverse of that. Yeah. They look at what you do and not what you say. So if you tell them to respect, to be respectful, and you're not respecting them or respecting other people in your family, immediate family, school stuff, and other, that's what they learn, to fight with people, curse other people, be angry with other people, be angry with them. So I just wanted to let parents know, as far as respect is concerned, you are better off doing more things that are respectful so your teenagers can follow suit.
Yes, thank you, because I forgot. Since we had technical trouble at the beginning, that's important.
Yeah, because you wanted that.
Yes, I wanted to. I wanted to talk about respect, because a lot of parents complain that their teenagers don't respect them, and they get mad right away because it pushes a button, like you were saying. We are models for our teenagers, so we need to be careful what we do. I want to thank you so much for being a guest today. That was very, very rich, and a lot of great information, and also reassurance that we as parents, we know we have the answers in us. And I always say we can co-parent with the universe. We can become receptive. I use it a lot in my life. And it makes things less scary. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For our audience, you can go check out Dr. Stem's material everywhere she mentioned. It will be in the description. So for today, I'm going to tell everybody, go and love yourself. And I'll see you next time with another episode.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.